Hello, everybody. How are you? Glad to have you with us tonight. Hope you can hear me. Let me see. Hello, everybody. We're starting over. How are you? Glad to have you with us tonight. We've got so much going on. We are going to get started rather quickly, but would like for you guys, if you are not a member or have not, subscribe to this channel, we invite you to subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. And then also make sure you give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. We would love to hear from you. What I am going to do, and I hope that you do the same, is I am going to text folks and let them know that we are on tonight and that we want them to join us if at all possible. And just want to encourage you to do the same. Texting, I've got group text that I send out. So I'll send out to them. And then also, I want to send out, hey, everybody, how are you? Appreciate the thumbs up. Thanks so much. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Let me see. There's a couple of things that I want to share with you tonight. Yeah, we are talking about this, The Garden Within. We do it every Thursday, and want to make sure that you are a part of what we are doing online. We're going through this book. If you don't have it, go ahead and get it so that you can read it and read along. I do feel like what we are doing tonight and we'll be doing for the rest of the month of February, that we're probably not going to get through the whole book, but we're going to talk about what we can. And also want to encourage you to, what was I going to say? Want to encourage you to not just get the book, but to go ahead and read it. I can't remember, lost the train of thought. Anyway, the other thing I want to tell you about during the year of 2024, this is just the first part of the year. So we are this month, actually next Friday, February the 23rd, a night of worship. Those of you who live in the CSRA area, especially in Lincolnton, Georgia, we invite you to come out and join us. The Proclamation is hosting and sponsoring the night of worship and prayer starting at 7:30. We're going to be at True Friendship Church, and that is on Chamberlain South Ferry Lane. Go ahead and screenshot that so that you'll have the address. Pastor Daravius Colors is the pastor there. We want you to join us for that. The other thing, I'm putting it back up. The other thing I want you to join us for is a ladies' night out, March the 23rd at 7 p.m. We have secured a place, Edgar's Grill. We want you to join us. Space is very, 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 very limited. When I say very, I mean space is limited. So if you want to be a part of that, you are going to have to go to our website and you are going to have to register to be a part of our ladies' night out next month, March the 23rd, 7 p.m. We are going to have prizes. I'm saying playing games, but it's just going to be ladies coming together. We're going to be encouraging one another, just having a good time. Go to KimberelyJMinistries at gmail.com and you'll find the link where you can go to Eventbrite and register so that you can be a part of our ladies' night out. We would love to have you join us. We are so super excited about that. And this is the flyer that I wanted to share with you, the night of worship, again, the February the 23rd, on Chamberlain Ferry Road in Lincolnton, Georgia, where Pastor Daravius Colors is the pastor. And we've got an all-star lineup. I'm saying all-star, but we've got a great lineup happening. Again, okay, Edgar's Grill, sorry, I'm duplicating myself. All of these things that we have coming up, we want to encourage you or offer you the opportunity to partner with us. Again, you can go to Kimberly J Ministries in order to do that, to see the link to partner with us. And we are officially a nonprofit. We have our papers registered with the state. And so anything that you give to our ministry is tax deductible. And we are going to just make sure that it is put to good use, of course. But this ministry is all about encouraging people when it comes to their mind, their body, and their souls. We are interconnected as a being. And so we want to acknowledge that and want to encourage you to be a part of it. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, we are excited to put this up because I'm excited. Woohoo! Yes, we got our papers. So we're so glad about that. Those of you who want to give, we encourage you to do so, and we'll do a little campaign for that. We want to thank our sponsors. Of course, we want to thank Young People Nation podcast. They are on YouTube, and they are on every Thursday at 12 noon. They have a new broadcast. Make sure that you go and support them. You go over to their YouTube page and make sure you become I want to say a member, but it's not a member. You subscribe to them, subscribe to us. Also want to thank our sponsor, Davis Consultants. Today is your day show every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Jonathan Davis is the host, and you can see that every Wednesday. I think it's every other Wednesday now. I have to talk to him about that, but on Facebook and on YouTube. But whatever the case may be, go to his page so you can watch past shows so that you will be encouraged. Listen, we also want to encourage you to get his book. It is called I Am So Grateful. You can go to Amazon and just type in I Am So Grateful, or type in Jonathan Davis, and it is his weekly time for gratitude. So we encourage you to do that. And one more, a word and a song every third Sunday at 7 p.m. Montre Roberts. You can see it on her Facebook page, and I'm going to be joining her this Sunday. So we hope that you all will go ahead and be a part. One last thing, if you want to stay connected to us, go ahead and type in the word community with a K to the number 866-939-6096. That's 866-939-6096. And then that way you are able to get all of the text messages that we put out when we go live, when we have new information. You are there because we will send you a text so that you will know. So we want to encourage that. All right, let's get started with what we are talking about today. I know some of you have, when we started talking about this book last week, some of you mentioned that there was, I guess I didn't explain it very well, or what I was excited about it, but just wanted to add a little clarity to what we have been talking about, the garden within. And if you don't have the book, go ahead and get it, because this is what we are going to be in. The reason why I wanted to do it is because I feel like, and I've heard the author, I've heard many interviews that she's done. So I'm really regurgitating a lot of what Dr. Anita Phillips is talking about. She is a trauma therapist, and she is also a minister, but she has written a book called The Garden Within. And it talks about how our bodies are really made up like gardens, that everything talks to everything. So we, everybody talks about renewing the mind, and, and great, we renew the mind, but we also have to think about our hearts. We have to think about the words that we say. We have to think about the things that we think. All of that is interconnected. And so this is why I wanted to share what was happening on, this is why I wanted to share in the book. Sorry, I'm looking at text messages. And as she talked about the garden within, good morning, good evening, Deborah. Thank you so much for hanging with us, for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you for being here so much. We appreciate you being here. I don't know what I was talking about that you said you were excited, Jonathan, but thank you for being excited. We appreciate it. Okay, now I'm trying to find my notes for the garden. Here we go. So there are, and this is one thing that she said that I thought was so not just important, but so insightful. That's the word. She said, as Christians, we sometimes feel like, okay, well, if God doesn't do it, it won't get done. But the way that I've always viewed Christianity is it's not a spectator relationship. It is a relationship where both of us have to roll up our sleeves, and we both do work, and we come together. We have that synergy. I'm growing because I'm pressing in and because I'm connecting with God. I am growing because I'm connecting with Him, and He is expanding the way I think, the way I see things. He's expanding my capacity to love and to grow. So there's something that's interchanging and something that's happening in the Christian walk. And I wanted to encourage you to see it that way. One thing that the author said, I heard an interview. She said there are more tools available for us as Christians in order for us to work out our own salvation, as the scripture puts it. And so I want to encourage you to do that. This book is the epitome of what she said. She said that our lives are consisted of really four things: the seed, the soil, the plant, and the fruit. And so we are gardens. In the garden, you plant the seed, you put it in the soil, then the plant comes up and it bears fruit. Think about the scriptures that you know throughout the Bible and how many of them talk about fruit and planting and agriculture. And I know that was the time that the people lived in, but think about the way God made us. We plant seeds in our hearts. We want them to take root so that they can grow, and we want to bear fruit. We are gardens. So the seed is the word, but it is also words that we speak, words that are spoken to us. Those are seeds. So in the seeds, it's planted in our hearts. Our hearts take the words that are said to us, take the words that we say, and it goes into our hearts and we hold on to it. And and those seeds begin to create and have roots. Well, in those roots, then it grows into a plant. The plant is the way that we think, our perspective on things, the way that we see things. That's the plant. That's the tree. That's the plant that's grown up. But then the fruit is our behavior, the way we respond, the way that we interpret things, and the way that our knee-jerk reaction. That's the fruit that we bear. And so one thing that she mentioned was that from Genesis to Revelations, there are gardens that are mentioned. If you have a question, put it in the chat, because I want to at least try to answer it. If I don't know the answer, we can find it out together, do some research. But I don't know if you're saying, like, I don't know what you're saying, if that's real, or like, okay, I get it. But whatever, I thank you for the whatever that is. But again, if you have questions or if you need me to explain something a little better, go ahead and put that in the chat. The other thing is, she said, okay, from Genesis to Revelations, there are gardens that are mentioned. The Garden of Eden, that's how the Bible is set up. That's not necessarily, well, I won't go into all that. Anyway, that's the beginning of the Bible, the Garden of Eden. Okay. The Garden of Eden. It begins there. Remember, Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus was in a garden. It talks about the garden all the way through. It talks about planting seeds all the way through the Bible. It talks about gardens. From Genesis to Revelations, there are gardens. Now, this I just thought was so powerful and so interesting. She says that our bodies are like gardens. So she mentioned in the story of creation how God laid out how our bodies are structured through laying out how creation is structured. And sometimes we just pass over it. Some of the aspects in creation describes our spiritual, emotional, mental, and biological functions. I'll say that again. Some of the aspects of creation describes our spiritual, emotional, mental, and biological functioning. And all of those things work together. They're intertwined. The words that we speak, the words that we hear, those are seeds that go into our hearts. And in our hearts, the things that take root, it gives root to our thoughts. Our thoughts are rooted to what has been planted in our hearts. The way we think and our hearts, they are connected. And the way that we think gives way to our actions. And the actions are the fruit that we bear. You see how it all works together? So it's not like you can get one part of you, or I shouldn't say get. It's not like you should just focus on one part of you, but focus on the totality of who you are. And that's why I think this book is so important. Okay, let me go back to my notes. I'm looking at the wrong page here. Okay, here we go. I think this is it. Does anybody have any questions? Is that clear, or is it as clear as mud? Is it clear? Oh my goodness. I know I got notes somewhere. Maybe they're right here. Wow. Do I even know where my notes are? I hope I didn't grab the wrong notebook. Okay, it is clear. Thank you so much. And I hope that helped give you some understanding. I don't feel like I grabbed the wrong book. Wait a minute, y'all. Let me start from the beginning and see what I done did with these notes. Shucks. Everybody have a good day. Everybody have a good Valentine's Day. Did you love yourself, love on yourself yesterday for February the 14th? I hope you did, because you deserve to be loved on. Wow. I think I may have grabbed the wrong notebook, so we are going to wing it. But I had my notes in here, but maybe I did. I think I did. Okay. I've searched through it twice and I don't see it. Let me try this last section one more time. This is what happens when you have a bunch of notebooks. Hello, Team Perry. Welcome, welcome. I'm looking through my notebook to see where my notes are, and I think I may have grabbed the wrong notebook. Yeah, I did. Okay. So sorry. Won't be able to go through the old notes that we had. But one thing that I did want to address again, just to add some clarity to what we were talking about, was the fact that this author says that our bodies, the way that we're made up, is very similar to a seedling, very similar to a seedling. And we showed that picture before last time. I want to show it to you again, that our bodies are very similar to the seedlings. So the seedling is on one side. That's the way it looks, with the roots in the ground. Remember, I said that the roots take root in our hearts and it grows up to our brains. Like whatever we put in our hearts, it helps us develop thoughts and perspectives on certain things. So that is connected to our brain. That's where you see the leaves at the top. And then on the other side is the neurons that we have in our bodies. And those roots are a part of the way that we're made up. And then it goes up, it stems up into our thought process, into our brains. And so our bodies are very similar to the seedlings there. And I love that the author made that comparison. So let me go past that and go down here. Okay. I'm going to read, those of you who have the book, I'm reading on page 8 under the paragraph that says the choice. And it says, do I chalk it up to an interesting coincidence and move? Oh, okay. She's talking about The Matrix. I don't know how many of you remember that, The Matrix, where the main character, Neo, he was a young computer programmer, and the lives that the people were living, I'm talking about The Matrix, the lives that the people were living, they thought that they were living real lives, but they were only living virtual lives because they were plugged into the Matrix. So the leader, Morpheus, visited Neo and shows him life outside of the Matrix. And so maybe that's what I'm trying to do in this book, The Matrix. So then Morpheus presents Neo with 2 pills. He has one choice. One pill is blue and the other one is red. So the blue pill, if Neo took it, that he would forget the truth that he just saw. He'd forget everything that was happening behind the scenes, and he would go on with his life. But if he took the red pill, it meant that he was living in the Matrix permanently, and he had to fight with the revolutionaries. So I said all that to go to the next paragraph to say, the author is saying, so do I chalk it up as an interesting coincidence and move on by taking the blue pill, or do I just act on the belief that the creator intentionally shaped neurons to look like plants to touch us? I'm sorry, that the creator intentionally shaped neurons to look like plants to teach us something about how he made us. So we are basically taking the red pill. We are saying God created our bodies to look like neurons so that he could teach us something. And so we're going to continue to delve into this book and find out what it is. Okay. More than a metaphor. That's another section in this book. Plants and garden metaphors are built into the way that we speak in the American language, the English language. They'll say that I liked the city, so I put down roots. Or if you see a problem, nip it in the bud. Make sure you don't miss the forest for the trees. Those are all things or metaphors that we say when we're communicating. Well, the Bible constantly uses plants and gardens to teach us critical spiritual lessons and general principles for living. Now we see that there is a deeper reason for those plant and garden metaphors in the Bible. We have to know that and believe that. Plants challenge us to broaden our view of God and our expectation for the sacred text, which is the Bible. Okay, metaphors can teach us about feelings. I've never thought about that, but pause for a moment and consider how you feel about thoughts that drive you crazy. You probably feel emotions that frustrate you. But what if I say a thought is a plant? What if I said that? A thought is a plant. Let me put that there. I want to say a thought. Oh my goodness. A thought is a plant. Let me make sure that's what she said. Okay, so we're going off of this. What if we said that a thought is a plant? Okay. And then how does it invite you to feel differently? A plant is something that is nurtured. We heal a struggling plant by giving it the care that it needs. So what if you responded to painful thoughts as evidence that something within you needed to be nurtured or cared for? That's how metaphors change feelings. Okay, I'm going to read that again because I do think that's important. So what if we say that a thought is a plant, and a plant is something that needs to be nurtured? We heal a plant that we see is struggling. We give it tender, loving care. We give it what it needs to. We give it the care that it needs in order for it to get healthy. So if a thought is a plant and we nurture and care for plants, what if we responded to painful thoughts as evidence that something within us needed to be nurtured and cared for? That's how metaphors change feelings. Think about those difficult things that come up in your thoughts and think to yourself, there's something within me that needs to be nurtured and cared for. But this plant neuron connection is more than a metaphor. The similarities between plants and neurons, let me take this down. The similarities between plants and neurons go beyond appearance. There's a functional similarity as well. So I want to show this picture again. This picture of this plant or this neuron, the neuron in our bodies and the seedlings are so similar. There is a similarity between the plants and the neurons that are in our bodies, or neurons that are in our bodies, and it goes beyond appearance. There's a functional similarity as well. That's important for us to know. I know I'm going slow through this and reading through it, but I want us to get not just understanding, but I want us to get something from it and not just reading words from the page of a book. I want us to really think about what we're reading. So Like plants in a garden, the neuron in our bodies are very close to one another, but not directly connected. There is a tiny space between each of them. And so when your leg itches, neurons work together to tell your brain, to tell your hand to scratch the itch. To accomplish this communication, one neuron releases a chemical. Listen to this. One neuron releases a chemical that carries the message across the space to the next neuron. So our neurons are spaced together, similar to the picture that I showed you. And those neurons that are close to each other, they talk to each other. That space right there, I don't know if y'all can see my cursor, but that neuron talks to the other one and says, hey, the leg is itching. And then that neuron talks to the next one. That leg is itching until it gets to our brain. And it says the leg is itching, so tell the hand to move. And it happens so fast. It happens like, oh, my leg is itching. Boom. But you don't know, those neurons are communicating to each other. And it's sending a message to the brain to tell the hand to go and scratch the leg. That's what's happening to us, right? So listen to this. To accomplish this communication, one neuron releases a chemical that reaches across, or that carries the message across the space to the next neuron, across the vast chain of neurons until that itch gets scratched. Does that make sense? Again, if you guys are unclear, please let me know. Plants communicate with nearby plants the same way. Our neurons communicate the same way that plants communicate. That's why we have a garden within. And when you think about the garden, God made us just like the garden. Our body communicates like the garden does. Plants communicate with nearby plants the same way. For example, if a plant's leaves are touching or are touched by the leaf of a neighboring plant, it can send a chemical message through its roots and across the soil space to the roots of the nearby plants to let them know that things are getting crowded. So the plants respond by changing their growth pattern. Very interesting. Plants and neurons look alike and they act alike. And there is more. Some things are actually the same. So plants and neurons look alike, they act alike, but in some cases, they're exactly the same. So consider this. The chemicals from neurons used to send the messages are called neurotransmitters. So the chemicals from neurons are used to send messages, and they're called neurotransmitters. So guess what the author is saying? Plants use the same chemicals, including neurotransmitters known to affect our moods, like dopamine and serotonin. They fuel our stress response. They activate our muscles and they help our bodies rest, melatonin. All of the things that happen within our bodies also happens within plants. I never knew that. Neurons come in many shapes. Some look like blades of grass. Others look like a bush, a meandering vine, or a tree. But all of them look like plants. And God planted billions of these all throughout our bodies. Let me tell you, when you think of the makeup of the human body and how it is able to heal itself, how it's able to take a seed and create another being that looks just like it. How, when we don't take care of ourselves, there's a breakdown in some of the areas of our lives, and in our capacities, in different parts of our bodies, when we don't take care of ourselves. All of it, it all works together. Again, for some of those of you who are just coming on, our bodies work together. And this is one thing that the author said. I listened to one of her interviews, and she said some aspects of creation describe our spiritual, emotional, mental, and biological functions, and they all work together. I think that is so important for us to know as Christians and just as people, because it lets us know that we have more tools in our toolbox to use in order to become whole. Again, this ministry is all about the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so we want to nurture all aspects of that. Okay. The Creator planted a garden within us, and then the Creator planted, let me back up. She's saying the Creator planted a garden for us that we can look at, we can nurture, we can look at the way that it grows and how it develops. But then the Creator also planted a garden within us. So when you pay attention to what happens to your plants, and if you all have gardens, and if you're growing things, pay attention to the way those things behave, because that's how your body behaves. I want to encourage all of you to get a plant. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. To get a plant and pay attention to how your plant grows. Thanks for being on here, Classy. We appreciate you. So the parable here, how does the scripture define well-being? You know how the scripture defines well-being? It talks about it as a garden. That's the answer. A garden that can be plucked and pruned. Okay, a garden is more than plants. It begins with seeds and eventually produces fruit, but it is the soil that holds it all together. See what you're saying? It is the soil that holds the seed all together. Oh, wow. That's good. Absolutely. We appreciate you. A garden is more than plants. It begins with seeds and eventually produces fruit, but it is the soil that holds it all together. A flourishing garden depends on good soil. A flourishing life depends on the good soil of the heart, of the thought process. Remember, the seed that is planted, your life is seed, it's soil, it's roots, and it's fruit. Seed, soil, not roots. Seed, soil, plants, and fruit. That's in a garden. Seed, soil, plants, and fruit. That is our lives. Seed, the words that we hear, the words that we speak. The soil, our hearts. And the things that we embrace in our hearts take root, and it grows trees or strongholds. It grows thoughts. It grows our perspective, the way we see things. And then the fruit is the way that we act, the way that we respond. Seed, soil, plant, and fruit. That is the garden. That is our lives. Okay? A flourishing garden depends on good soil. So how does this apply to us? If plants represent our thoughts, what do seeds teach us about? What does fruit teach us? And most importantly, where is the garden planted? What does the ground represent? And I went on and told y'all that, but okay. In chapter 13 of the gospel, of Matthew, Jesus tells us a story about the parable of the sower. I'm going to just kind of glance over this. In that story, a gardener scattered seeds freely. And even though he knew that they were landing on different types of soil, he put the seeds out anyway. So the seeds ended up in 4 types of grounds. This is from Matthew 13. Again, in the Bible, it talks about soil. It talks about seed. It talks about growing. It talks about plants. Right. When I told you to get a plant, I encourage you to do so. But you know what? With plants too, I had a conversation with a nurse. I don't know why I'm itching there. Sorry, y'all. I had a conversation with a nurse during COVID, and she talked about how they are seeing, this was back during COVID. And she said before COVID even started, they started seeing more people over the years, people who were sickly. And she said some of it had to do with the fact that people don't have live plants in their homes anymore. Because when we release the carbon, not monoxide, when we release what we release, I can't think of the name of it. If somebody knows it, put it in the chat. When we release that, the plants gobble it up. It helps the plants, but the plants release oxygen. And people, think about it, back in the 60s and 70s, people would have plants and they'd have the vines just growing over their curtains and all of that stuff. They would, they would have almost like fresh oxygen being released in their homes on a consistent basis. Well, a lot of us have fake plants. I'm guilty of that. Doxide. Okay. I can't remember the name, but I believe that is it. So we release doxide. It seems like it was carbon something. We release carbon dioxide. Is that what you're saying? I think that's what it is. We release carbon dioxide, the plants gobble it up, and it helps them grow, helps them mature, helps them stay healthy, helps their roots to get strong. But they also release a chemical that is good for us. Even the trees, they say, when we're outside, and the same system, we're working together with that system, with the plant kingdom. But a lot of us don't have plants in our homes anymore. And so she mentioned that a lot of that some people weren't doing so well health-wise, because you can tell that there has been a turn in the way that we care for ourselves, in the way that we're not interacting with God's green earth as much as we should. Some people stay in the house all the time and they don't get out to breathe the fresh air. Some of them don't even open up their windows. They let the air conditioner blow. Or, of course, when it's cold, you have the heat on, but some people don't sit outside long enough to get those good, deep breaths within your lungs. God has put us on the earth for us to interact with one another. And I know sometimes we think about people who are like, save the trees, the tree huggers, and all of the people talking about the ozone layer and all that stuff. All of that is significant, important, and it is put in place for a reason. God wants us all to work together. Can't we just get along? I'm being funny, but seriously. All right, back to Matthew 13. So some of the seeds landed along the edge of the path, and Jesus described those seeds of having fallen by the wayside. Absolutely. Vitamin D in the sunshine. Get out there and get in that sun. Today, if you live in the CSRA area, it was just absolutely beautiful. I know some of you live in different states, but it was absolutely beautiful, and different countries. Y'all, guess what? People are watching us, and hello to you if you're watching us from across the sea over in a foreign country, but people are watching us from Ukraine, and I said I was going to look. There's another country that they watch us. And so we are so excited about that. We are so thankful to God that the word is getting out and it is spreading. And we hope that you are being encouraged by watching this. The other thing that I want to say, as some of you are coming on, you weren't on in the beginning, that we are now 501c3 compliant. Whoop, whoop. Anything that you give to the ministry is tax deductible. Those of you who have given at the beginning of the year, we are sending out forms so that, to acknowledge that you gave to the ministry. We appreciate that. Now, when you give, I do want to say this, make sure that you include your phone number so that we can call you and tell you thank you. And we've got some folks who are going to call and pray for you and pray over you and possibly leave a word and give a word for you. You have to go to our website. I could put down all the ways to give, but the easiest way, go to the website, KimberelyJMinistries.org. You are able to give that way. Find the link to give, and be sure to put in your phone number. And we will call you, we will thank you, we will pray for you, or we'll send you a message or leave a message. We're not going to hunt you down. We're not going to call you 1,000 times, but we want to say thank you for sowing into this ministry, because we are doing what God has called us to do. And so we are excited about it. Thank you, Team Perry, for being such a wonderful sponsor and supporter. We appreciate that. And we love you. Okay, let me take this down. This banner. Just go to the website and you can give. Be sure to put your phone number in there. I wanted to make sure I said that. Okay, back to the scripture, Matthew 13. So some of the seeds fell by the wayside, so nothing could grow there. Those seeds were vulnerable to the birds, and the birds ate them. Also, then another thing that is mentioned in verse 5 and 6, that some of the seeds fell on stony soil, and the plant grew tall quickly but it was scorched by the hot sun because it was on stony soil. And then in verse 7, it talks about thorny soil or in the thorns. And its fruit was developed and it was nice at first, but then it was choked out by the thorn bushes before the fruit could really ripen. And then in verse 8, it talks about being on good ground. And the soil in those zones unleashed the full potential of all of the seeds. Some yielded a 30-fold return, 60-fold, and some gave the gardener a 100-fold return. That's verse 8 of Matthew, the 13th chapter. So every element of the garden is accounted for in this story. And when Jesus interprets the parable, every element of the inner workings is revealed. Jesus tells us that the seeds are words. Seeds are words. Seeds are words. I'm going to put that in here. Seeds are words. Seeds are words. So I want to ask you this. What kind of words are playing in your internal thought process? What kind of seeds are you nurturing? Are you caring for? Seeds go into your heart and they take root. You're thinking about it, but it's also, remember those neurons we talked about? It's also sending a message to your heart, like, I'm not good enough. There was something in here. I wanted to go back and cover this because I thought this was so good, where she talked about when she was little and how messages that she heard planted seeds in her heart. I think this is it. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Okay, this is how it starts. She grew up believing some things, and it was because of what people said to her. I want you to listen to this. For some battling emotional pain, and this, we talked about this last week, so if you missed it, go back and look at the other video. But I wanted to readdress this because I thought this was so good about the way that we plant seeds, not just in our hearts, but in the hearts of our children, in the hearts of our loved ones. If you have somebody that your heart is really open to, the things that they say affect you in a different way. I mean, it stings if somebody has their heart open to you and you say harsh words to them. So think about that. Okay. For some battling emotional pain, it is a reality. You and your feelings are hand in hand, and they are in hand-in-hand combat each and every day. They're up close, they're personal, they're bloody. Others have protected a sniper approach where you build a sturdy wall around your heart. And now you spend most of your waking hours perched up, just awaiting. Let me finish this sentence because that's not what I wanted. Just awaiting an opportunity to knock them down. Of course, eventually after those feelings, oh goodness, where is it? Unholy earthquake. It was something she said about the way, I think it was before this, that her parents spoke to her and it sent messages to her. And I wanted to read it for y'all. I don't see it. I'll have to find it again. But anyway, it was like when she did things that were good, she would see the expression on her parents' face. And in her little heart, in her 5-year-old heart or 7-year-old heart or 13-year-old heart, whatever it was, the fact that her parents were pleased sent a message. It planted a seed. It planted a seed that said, you are good. You are good at speaking in front of people. It planted that seed. I want to ask you to think about the seeds that you plant to yourself. If somebody that you like doesn't like you, or if something that you've done disappoints someone that you care about, the seeds, and I'm talking about not just the seeds that are said externally, but the seeds internally that we continue to nurture. What are we saying to ourselves? I'm no good. I can never make things happen. I'm not good enough. I won't ever measure up. Some of you may want to apply for jobs that you feel like, oh, I could do that job, but I don't feel qualified. If they hired me, I wouldn't know what to do. Those are seeds that we're planting within our minds and in our hearts. And as we plant them, as we meditate on them, as we nurture them, they begin to take root in our heart. And the fruit from the seeds that we're nurturing is our actions, meaning we don't apply for the job, meaning we don't connect with people, meaning we walk around feeling like we're ashamed or low self-esteem. That's the fruit of what's happening or what has taken root. Our emotions are the fruit of what has taken root from the seeds that we planted in our hearts and in our minds. Okay, let me move forward. Wish I could have found that. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's 9:00 already. Wow. Okay, so we are going to wrap things up. That was fast. That was really fast. Okay. Let me just read this last paragraph because I thought this was so profound. I thought this was really, really good. Thank you so much for being on. I'll have my notes next time. I obviously go grab the wrong notebook. So it'll be better next week. Join us next week. It'll be better. But thank you so much for being on, Classy, and for all of you interacting within the chat. But I'm going to read this last paragraph and then we're going to say goodnight. It says, while I didn't recall having heard a sermon preached about the verse in Paul's letter to the Romans, and that was earlier, something we discussed even last week. I had heard plenty of sermons about gardens, but none of them prepared me for what gardens teach us about well-being and the life our Creator designed for us. From the Garden of Eden to the garden parables, the Garden of Gethsemane, the garden at the tomb, and the garden city, the narrative is consistent throughout the Bible. They talk about, the Bible is filled with examples of the gardens. A garden's condition depends on its soil. The condition of the garden within you, spiritually, mentally, and physically, depends on the soil of your heart. That means embracing your feelings. All of them, the author writes, embrace all of your feelings. And that means it is time to end the war. So on that cliffhanger, we are going to go into chapter 2 of our book next week. So those of you who have the book, go ahead and read ahead, but I wanted to put this up real quick while I had all of you on here. I want to encourage all of you to join us for Ladies Night Out. Remember, this ministry is all about your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so we're going to nurture our minds by hanging out with the girls, and space is limited. We are going to be at Edgar's Grill. I'm going to have to update this flyer because it says Washington Road, but y'all, the favor of God, we are going to be downtown where they have it's a rooftop, but we're not going to be out in the roof element, but it's like a rooftop place where we're going to be. So the location has changed, but it's still Edgar's Grill. You still have to register. Go to Eventbrite. You have to go to our website, KimberelyJMinistries, to register. But I am so excited. We have had so much favor around this. So it is going to happen next month in March, but I need you to get registered now. It's going to be on a Saturday night. It's going to start at 7:00. And put on your cute outfits, put on something cute and just really cute. Just put on something cute. You're going to go out and hang out with your girlfriends. You're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to eat some good food. Everybody's going to go home with a gift. We're just going to have a really good night of laughter and food. And I'm telling you, when I get with my girlfriends and we just kind of laugh and just have a good time and reminisce about things, it really makes my heart happy. It makes my soul, I feel full. And, it kind of gives you kind of peace of mind. So we want to invite you to do that. The other thing, for all of you prayer warriors, a night of worship and prayer, that is happening. Let me move that banner. but go to our website. All of this information is there. That is happening this month. That is actually next Friday, February the 23rd, 7:30 p.m. So if you guys would like to join us there, it is going to be in Lincolnton. We invite you to join us absolutely. And I will put this flyer up and then we will say good night. For those of you who'd like to partner with us for any of our events, that would mean preferred seating, and you will also get some of the other options that are available to you. Go to KimberelyJMinistries.com. That is where you will find sponsorship and information, and then you will have an opportunity to just be a part of what we are doing in a more intimate way. And again, if you decide to give, we encourage you to do that. We are 501c3 compliant. We are super excited about that. Anything that you give to the ministry is tax deductible. Go to the website to see how to give. And when you give, be sure to put your name and your phone number, the name that you will answer to when we call you, or if we send you, or if we have to leave a recording or whatever. But we want to call you and tell you thank you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting this ministry. Please do that. Those of you who gave in January, we're going to get our letters out to you so that you can have them for your tax purposes. And also, we still owe some of you some phone calls. We are making our way through the list, so don't give up on us, but we're coming. We're going to call you and pray with you and just tell you thank you. All righty. All right, guys, I think that's all that I have. Thank you guys so much. If you guys are reading the book, go ahead and read ahead. We're going to come in on chapter 2 next week. And I think that is it. Give us a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to this community, please subscribe to this channel, this page. That's it, y'all. I'm pushing these buttons. Let me see. Oh, here it is. All right. That's all I got. I appreciate y'all so much. Appreciate your time. I know that it's valuable. Be blessed, and we will see you next time. Bye.